today I am covering the game-changing benefits of applying early action. Now, if you missed it in a previous video, I went over the 4 types of college admissions deadlines, early action being one of them. But if you missed the other types and need to understand this more, you can subscribe to my channel and you will find that video where I go over all the different kinds of options you have. But today we're going to go into early action, not to be confused with early decision. Do not confuse those things, and why early action is the best choice for your college admissions deadlines. Let's dive into the 5 benefits of applying early action. Very, very briefly, we're going to go into more detail of early action today, but if you missed it, there are 4 admissions deadlines. There's early action, there's early decision, not to be confused with early action. That is where you are committed to go to a school, and there is regular decision, which is like, let's say the normal deadline, the later deadline, and then there's rolling admission, which is they review your applications as they come in. For more details of all the ins and outs of those deadlines and the pros and cons of them, go ahead and check out that previous video. But today I'm going to dive into why early action is the best choice. And the first one, which makes it already the best choice, is it's statistically a 33% higher chance of admission if you apply early action versus the regular decision deadline. Now, there's a lot of different reasons for this, but it doesn't really matter. Statistically, 33%, obviously that's plus or minus depending on the school, but I do see a lot of students who probably wouldn't have gotten into certain universities had they not applied early action. So why would you miss that? Why would you that's the easiest thing in the world. Just apply early and increase your chances of getting in, right? You didn't have to study for that. So that's one benefit of applying early action. Another benefit of applying early action is avoiding wait lists. This is particularly true for students applying to more competitive majors like nursing, computer science, maybe pre-med, even business, especially at certain schools. But it's very stressful when students have, especially like a dream school or a couple of top choices, and you get waitlisted and you want to take advantage of applying early and that 33% higher chance of admission. Because if you get waitlisted, it can be really hard because you have to make a decision by May 1st, National Decision Day. And if you are on a wait list, that means you have to accept to a different school because you haven't heard back from maybe a school you really want to go to, especially again if your major gets full. Because even what can happen is you apply to a school and let's say your first choice major is one thing and you put on like a second choice, but if that first choice gets full before, because you applied late, then you might get admitted, but admitted for your second choice, or both of those get full and then you get a rejection. Or you get the, hey, we're gonna admit you, but none of your majors are open, so you're gonna have to choose something else. And nobody likes that. So you want to have options and avoid that wait list, and early action can give you the ability to do that. The other benefit of applying early action is more money. And who doesn't want more of that? This can happen in a couple different ways, but if you think of it as schools are in academic years, right, not calendar years. And so when you're doing early action deadlines, which are generally November 1st, at the beginning of a school year, there's more money. So a lot of the times when you apply early, there's a bigger pot of money, and sometimes the financial aid offices can be more generous in the different scholarships and grants they award. The other thing to think about is a lot of the times I see schools that have, like, your application deadline is, let's say November 1st, if it's earlier. And then maybe their regular deadline is in February, but their scholarship applications are often, I see December 1st for that. Sometimes, it can vary, but a lot of times there's scholarship deadlines to apply for those institutional scholarships at their school is before the regular decision deadline, because obviously the financial aid office needs time to look through those applications and award that money, and they need more time than what the regular deadline would give them. So they might award scholarships that way, and then you lose the opportunity to get that kind of aid. The other big thing is that because your acceptances will come in earlier, and hence your financial aid comes in earlier, it gives you time if you are a situation where you have to go through an appeal, a financial aid appeal, then doing this earlier, right? So like November, December, January, where the financial aid office, like you have time to figure out what this is going to be, and they usually have more money because they do want to help make college affordable for students. And if they can award more money, then they can at that time, and they will. And you need to know that before May 1st, National Decision Day. What I often see is parents will call me in June, July, August. Usually they've already given their decision to a school, and so the school knows you're coming to this university, and they're like, how are we gonna afford this? How do we pay for this? And it's like, this is an easier conversation when we had options a few months ago. Now we're a little bit more limited once it gets into the summer, because you've got to rush to try to figure out financial aid before school starts. So all of those benefits around the financing really makes it helpful if you apply early admission. Early action also gives you more time in general. So this is very helpful for a number of reasons, but if you're applying early action, and that generally is by November 1st, but it can be earlier. Like my students, I have students every year that have acceptances by July. That's July before school starts senior year. And by September, like all my students have at least some acceptance letters. Now some will not come until like March, April. That's just how those schools are. They're late in getting their decisions out, but you'll have quite a few. So this will give you time to plan college tours, and because you'll now have winter break, midwinter break, and spring break, and then you just have that flexibility of the school year to plan those college tours. You also have time to apply for scholarships. So like if you're applying November 1st with most deadlines, that gives you almost the whole school year to start applying to scholarships, and those do take time to do and accumulate, and you need that time. So doing that allows you to start applying for scholarships earlier. Another great benefit of having more time is that you actually get to enjoy your senior year, okay? Because you will be done applying in October, really. And then you have the rest of the school year to do all the fun things that senior year has, go on trips and enjoy your vacations with your family, or get in college tours, things like that. But if you're not applying till the later deadlines, which are going to be earliest December, if you're applying regular admission, some are not until January, February, March. So think about it, you have to go through college applications all the way through like March. You don't really get to enjoy your senior year as much. So that is another great benefit of just generally having more time. The biggest underestimated benefit I see to applying early action is one that people often overlook, and it's the stress relief. This is huge, and I will tell you, in practice of working with many parents and students over the years, everyone loves early action deadlines in practice, okay? Now, some people are like, oh, my friends are applying in January. Oh, it's fine. I even have a lot of school counselors that are like, that's fine, just apply in January. Every family, I have never had a family that was like, man, I wish we really didn't apply that early action deadline. Nobody says that. Every single one is like, I'm so glad we did it because of the stress relief. Now, why is this a thing and very important is because if you apply, right, now you're going to use your summer really well and get it out of the way. And then my students are generally getting, like I said earlier, all of my students are getting admissions decisions in August, early September. the very large majority are getting some admissions decisions before school starts, which is so nice because you're gonna roll up to the beginning of the school year, and a few weeks in to when school's starting, other people are gonna start talking about it. And they're like, man, I really need to start working on my college admissions essay. Man, I should probably go on some tours. And you're gonna be like, I already got 4 decisions that came in. And it feels so good to just be able to do your classes and your activities and stuff and not be stressed out about all of like those kinds of things. So there's a lot of benefits there. The other thing is you're still going to have some stuff that has to be done when school starts, right? Like letters of rec and sending transcripts and things. And so you still have some stuff, but you're not really stressed about like essays and applications and stuff. Your stuff is already in. So that kind of thing. And then being able to, like I said earlier, like plan tours gives you time to figure out the finances and stuff. A lot of the times people who are rushing because they waited till January, February, March, they only have like maybe spring break to go on college tours, or like they're trying to do stuff that you have, 6 months, 8 months, a year to do, and they're trying to do it in like a month. It is very stressful. You don't want to have to do that. So you're going to want that benefit of the stress relief of applying early action. One thing I wanted to just touch on, and this is just years of observation of working with students, is if students are not meeting early action deadlines, they're making regular decision deadlines, then I find they tend to fall into 2 different camps. One is they really just didn't know the benefits of early action. And as you are seeing, there are 0 downsides to applying early action. Tons of downsides applying to early decision. Do not mix those 2 things up. But early action, no downsides. Regular decision, lots of downsides, okay? So they might just not know because that's what their friends are doing, or I see a lot of, they're saying, my school counselor told me that this is fine. No. We want to meet those early action deadlines if at all possible. The other camp, which is the more common camp I see students fall into, is they're flat out just procrastinators, okay? I have never seen a student who couldn't meet early action deadlines. We just have to plan better. So a tip for this is the summer going junior year into senior year. That is a really bad summer to plan family vacations, okay? And I mean, you could still go on vacation, but just don't go on the big ones. Like every year I have students where they're doing like the 3-week trip to Europe, or maybe they have family who lives abroad, and so they're like, we're going to Israel for a whole month. Bad idea. This is not the summer to overload things. This is the summer you need to plan for college applications. Not the summer you do a month-long course or camp at some university or something. Like, we need that time. So if you can plan that, I've never not seen students not be able to meet early action deadlines. I've also tend to hear, I've heard some crazy excuses over the years of why they couldn't meet an early action deadline. Again, they're just procrastinating. I've had students tell me, well, my friends are, they're not doing it. I'm so much farther ahead than they are. That's not the point, because I don't know what your friends are doing. I don't care. I even had a student once who was like, well, my friends are doing it, so like, I'm way ahead. And I'm like, aren't these the friends you said were gaming all summer? Like, really, you want to listen to your friends gaming all summer over me? That's probably not a good idea. I've had students, this is my favorite one, I hear it every summer. Somebody will say this. They're like, but I'll have more time when school starts. You do not have more time when school starts. You're just making excuses to procrastinate. So if you plan this out, I've never had a student who couldn't meet an early action deadline. Today, I went over the 5 major benefits of applying early action. Literally no downsides, but there are other types of college application deadlines. And I cover these types of deadlines in a previous video. If you missed that, I put a link in the description where you can start creating plans around these other deadlines and the different options that you have Again, you can grab the link in the description for that. FYI/important piece of information. I get the question a lot of, why do you make students submit their application so early? My students are usually done with applications around October 15th. Many of them are done earlier, like end of August before school starts. There's a lot of different reasons, but one big one most people don't know is that the systems will start bugging, not saving your information, crashing completely and kicking you out about 2 weeks before any deadline. So if our deadline is November 1st, then somewhere around October 15th, October 20th, that system starts getting really glitchy, and it's very stressful having to submit applications in that time. So I have students submit earlier so that we're not worried about those kinds of things. It makes it a lot less stressful. The other thing people don't think about is that the people who may need to help you, because inevitably something will come up when you're trying to submit applications where you're gonna need some information from somebody, and anybody who can help you is super slammed. So think of like the summer is like, if you were a CPA, the summer is like a March for a CPA, and then the fall is like April for a CPA. So if you were to call your CPA on April 1st, right, and say, oh, okay, got my tax stuff in, I'm ready to go, I'm 2 weeks before the deadline, I'm like, what's wrong? Anybody who knows, your CPA is gonna be like, yeah, I can get to that in like June. If you come to me April 1st, right, they're so backlogged. It's the same for college admissions people. So if you come around October 15th, to you, that's 2 weeks before the deadline. If you're an admissions office at a college, you have thousands of people submitting applications and trying to call and get questions answered, and you maybe have 4 or 5 people in an admissions office who can answer the phone, right? Your guidance counselor is really busy with early in the year stuff. It might take a few weeks to get in with your guidance counselor. Private admissions consultants like myself, it's April for a CPA. Like, we are booked weeks in advance. You're probably not going to be able to get somebody on the phone at the beginning of October. So that's why I tell students, like, yes, you might think you're early, but you have to think people who might need to help you have, possibly thousands of other students who are also trying to get in at the same time. Your guidance counselor will have hundreds. For me, that's 20 plus students all in a couple of weeks. It's a lot of people, and so you want to get in while you can get help and before the systems start crashing. The same goes with like a January deadline. So let's say you're trying to make a regular decision deadline. And let's say the regular decision, like there's a lot in January, like January 3rd, it's usually like that week after, maybe the 15th, okay? But same thing, like everybody's gonna be trying to get in and the system's gonna be crashing. So you don't wanna be dealing with that. And like your guidance counselor is not gonna be there over Christmas break when you're working applications. Nobody in admissions offices are working over that holiday break either. Private admissions consultants are like, that's our April 15th time, if you think of it that way. Like, we're completely burned out and exhausted by then. So you kind of have to think of other schedules as well. But it's gonna, again, if it's due like January 15th, it's gonna start crashing, bugging a couple weeks before that. So you just wanna be able to plan around that so that that doesn't happen